So the program for today, for the next hour, we're going to talk about crisis communication. And Jeff Chatterton is an international expert on crisis communication. He came forward to assist us when we were in a threat of an eruption of the Mount Agung. And it was very important that we went through two things. We went through a potential eruption of Agung, but at the end of the day, nothing happened, but a lot of people being displaced. And I'm not saying it's the most, but no one died. And then we had to deal with the consequences on earthquakes. We had earthquakes in Lombok, in Sulawesi, and that created not only a dramatic situation on the ground with about 450,000 refugees still on Lombok only, but also created a lot of anxiety and fear among the general public, people that were considering coming to Bali or not. So yeah, the idea with the webinar today is to give you practical tools and tips on how do you create the best communication and you engage with your audience so that they trust you, and how do you create that. So Jeff is going to tell us about him in a minute and his background, but he's been really an international expert on this topic, supporting countless of businesses that have been through all kinds of dramas. And to his credit, he already came to Bali. We toured around Bali to give a talk on how do you prepare yourself and how to communicate on crisis. So thank you again, Jeff, for taking the time to be with us today. So we are Big Greener. Big Greener is a community of business change makers in the tourism industry. We are a group of people, and it's very important. I don't really care what people do. I really care about their shared vision for the destination. They want to be part of the solution. They're aware that, you know, this is not our country, wherever that is. We are coming and we are enjoying the destination, building businesses, whether it's a resort, a restaurant, a consulting agency, and we want to give back. We want to be part of the community. We want to come together, and I'm going to share a little bit about what we do. So just to give you an idea, this is some of the members. We're about 80 members. So here you see solution providers in waste management, resorts, yoga centers, travel agencies, inbounds, clothing companies, NGOs, consultants, large clubs, small clubs. It's really fantastic to bring everybody together. We meet once a month, and it's very important because that gives the rhythm to the community. And there you can see it's quite a large group when we meet, and we talk about really practical solutions. The same way today we talk about crisis communication. Every month we talk about something that is relevant to your business. The first thing we do is grow your business. We're a business group. So we get the business owners to cross-promote, whether it's on social media or live, and help each other. We also create great opportunities for networking, whether it's a casual lunch or dinner or those events. It's a great way to network. We also have a very active WhatsApp group. I think there are a WhatsApp group, and there people not only promote what they do, but they solve problems. Hey, I need to recruit this person, or I need this kind of training. So it's really a safe space for business owners who can trust their peers and support each other. And the reason I'm doing it, of course, is to make an impact. So first of all, making an impact on the people in the community. And you can see some photos of what the events look like. It's really joyful, a lot of circling where we share what's going on and we brainstorm solutions. We believe that by bringing all those brains together, we can work smarter. Like, collaboration is more important than competition. And you will see people that really are in the same field, just working well together. We also have great guest speakers coming on. So it's really beautiful moments. We learn from each other because we travel around and we go to each other's places. So we learned about Ayurveda last week, or the food trends, or eco-construction, crisis communication. And next month will be on reputation management online. So you can see it's not always related to the environment. It's related to you and your business. And we all decide what we're going to talk about. We are committed to making a positive impact in many ways. And that's my personal motivation for doing this. We start by making an impact on local people, Uh, the lady you see on the screen, Widya, she started a little soap business, and one of the members brought her to the group, and now everybody's buying from her. So boom, she started on a whole village of women are empowered to sustain themselves through soap making. And we do that every month with all sorts of amazing initiatives. So local impact is where we start. This is something that you might have heard of, and that was interesting and related to our topic. The idea that we had to face a situation when Agung threatened to erupt, where the whole world was communicating that Bali is in danger. Bali is the place where you shouldn't go, where nothing is ready. And we were brainstorming how we came up with that campaign saying, I am in Bali now, and look at me, and I'm fine. So we were not saying Bali is safe. We were not saying anything but, hey, this is what Bali looks like right now. And I must say that that was a really, really great success. We had 20,000 photos on Instagram, and that helped communicate in a better way what this destination is about. You know, when we were showing smiles and beautiful landscapes, and that inspired, I believe, a lot of responsible travelers to come to Bali. Closer to home, we started a really nice campaign when the Lombok earthquake happened, and we did the same in Sulawesi with a different Facebook group, and you can look them up. Those are the main Facebook groups to coordinate relief work on the ground. It's really, really practical solution. As you can see on the map, it's a practical map with all the needs on the ground. So anyone can come and identify those are the needs, and this is where I need to do where I need to go. And this map is used by the large NGOs, including the UN, whenever they need to do something on the ground. So this is like an impact, and that just give you an example, but it's really practical. There's, hey, this is where we are. This is how many people need help. Let's come together and support. So as much as you see me here today promote tourism, and of course we need to do that because this is how most of the people on the ground live these days. They live out of tourism. We are also committed to supporting the people that are in the ground, that are survivors. And we do that on a long term. We started with relief, then we moved towards reconstruction these days. This is something that we started about 2 years ago. We will have refillmybottle.com app, which is a really cool app in 10 countries, and we hope to scale around the world. Very simple. Wherever you are, you know where to refill your water bottle. So you don't need to buy plastic bottles. That's it. It's that simple. With the app, you're able to add a new station. So if you are at the airport and you see, oh, this is not on the app, boom. You can track whether you've drank enough water, earn points. There's a lot of cool functionalities. So please just download Refill My Bottle app and enjoy. It's free, and we're happy to bring that to the world. So that's it for the introduction. Whatever you give, you will get it back in ways you don't expect. This is what we stand for. And I'll be very happy if any of you is interested to know more about the community. Please reach out to me privately, and I'll be happy to tell you more. So that's it for the introduction. Jeff, I'll hand it over to you now. Can you tell us a little bit about you so we get to know who you are?
I'm Canadian, international expert on crisis communications. I have been running around for the better part of 2 decades now, running around helping organizations, and specifically travel, hospitality, and major venue organizations deal with how to follow up. And I think that's a really important distinction. I think there's a lot of different textbook learning. There's a lot of different lessons that you can learn when it comes to communicating in a crisis, and they all talk about how to get back to where you were before. And I think that's a cop-out. I think that's a massive failure. If you are getting back to where you were before, you're not taking advantage of the opportunities that are in front of you. There is I always tell this story, and it's funny because it's 2 pictograms there. The first one, the one on the left, that's danger. And the danger is self-evident. You've got an earthquake, you've got a volcano, you have people who no longer want to come to your facility for whatever reason. You know, that's the danger. The second is opportunity. Now, but the Chinese word for crisis is dangerous opportunity. Now, the opportunity lies in the fact that people are paying attention. People are looking at what it is you're doing. People are looking at what's going on in Bali. For the first time in their life, they may be looking at, a volcano that they've never heard of before called Agung. Maybe they're hearing about earthquakes in Lombok. They don't even know what Lombok is or where it is, but they're sitting there and they have questions. When you can handle those questions well, it is a fantastic way to grow your business. When you do them wrong, you'll die. It's that simple. I'm not trying to be rude. I'm not trying to be facetious, but that's what we are going to see. This has been going on for a year now. The original Agung eruption was 1 year and 1 day ago today, I believe. Unless you tell me I'm wrong, I think it was a year and a day ago. And so this has been going on for a while. It's not going to go away. I think we've gotten past the urgent, hey, what's going on stage, and we need to actually get into what are we going to do to convince our people that they should come back, that they can be safe, that we have their best interests at heart. Now, there are really good ways of doing that, and there are really bad ways of doing that. And when you do it really well, it is a fantastic opportunity for growth. So the problem is not that you've had an earthquake. The problem is not that you've had a volcano. The problem is not that you're dealing with natural disasters. The problem isn't even that people are scared. The problem that you're having right now in Bali, really simply, is that you just don't know the right way to communicate. You just don't know what you need to be doing in order to do that. And that's what I'm hoping we can fix.
We had the threat of eruption of Agung, and all of a sudden no one wanted to come to Bali. And the reaction of the government and the officials, and then most of us, was, hey guys, come on, Bali is safe, Bali is safe. And we tried to get people to trust us by just claiming that Bali is safe. And what we saw everywhere was a map showing where the volcano is and where the beaches are, and saying, hey, we are 40 kilometers away, we're 50 kilometers away, don't worry. And I remember you saying that just doesn't work. Can you explain us why?
I think it boils down to there are 5 rules that I like, and I tell people that you need to follow when it comes to a situation like this. And the first rule number 1, right, is don't react. The problem right now, the first thing that everyone's doing wrong, and they've been doing it wrong, and I mean this with the utmost of respect, but frankly, and I see it all the time, and it drives me nutty, is they're reactive. They are waiting, and they're waiting on the Indonesian central government. They're waiting on the Ministry of Tourism. They're waiting on industry associations just like this one here with Be Greener. They're waiting on the Indonesian Tourism Association. They're waiting on the Hotel Association to do something, and you can't. There's a word that we have for really reactive tourism companies: bankrupt. That's what's going to happen. You have to take leadership, and taking leadership is scary, because taking leadership means that you're out in front, and being out in front is lonely, right? Which is why networking and organizations like Be Greener are so critically important right now. But you need to get out in front, and as part of that, when you've established yourself in a leadership role and you've said, okay, we're not going to accept any excuses. The second rule that I tell folks, it's not about facts. So rule number 2, not facts. And you're absolutely right. We saw this a lot initially in the initial eruption stage. I'll give you some background. So I've done a lot of work in tourism regions in crisis. Doesn't matter what it is, whether it's a volcano in Ecuador. I got called in by the South African tourism region when they had problems with Ebola. They did the exact same thing. They tried to make a distance argument. They tried to point out, hey, look, Ebola is way over there, right? No, it didn't work. This is Ecuador. They tried to point out, okay, hey, look, here's the facts of the volcano, and the problem with that is the data looks horrible, right? Here's what I saw in Bali. You know, Bali is still safe for tourism, and they tried to point out, you can see, hey, a radius of 12 kilometers until about 12 kilometers around the mountain is dangerous, but the rest of the island is otherwise fine. I honestly, and I don't want to disparage anyone if they've been the ones responsible for doing this. So please understand that I'm going to be direct and going to be blunt, but I don't mean to be offensive. But this is horrible communications. This is really, really bad. There's a couple of things going on here. So to begin with, when you were flying 10,000 kilometers or more to come to Bali, right? A distance of only 12 kilometers or 50 kilometers or 70 kilometers from an active volcano is nothing. I mean, let's put this in perspective. For me to come to Bali, and I love visiting Bali, but for me to come to Bali, it's a 24-hour flight, right? Even for your major markets, if it's Australia, it's still what is that, an 8-hour flight by the time you're coming up from Sydney?
Yeah, from the other side,
yeah. So the distance argument, that's not really going to fly, right? They're covering that in an airplane in less than a minute, right? Secondly, all you're doing is you're highlighting the problem areas, and quite frankly, you're highlighting it really starkly. You've got flames coming out, you've got, you know, red and yellow. The entire island looks like it's about to explode. It's not to scale. I mean, there's just a whole lot that's going on here. You're talking about Bali tourism is safe. Don't spread misleading news. I mean, you're chiding. You're criticizing people who have legitimate concerns about their safety and about their family safety, and you're telling them that they're stupid. I mean, and the problem with that is it just doesn't work, right? I call it the monster under the bed theory. So when I'm a dad, every now and then I'd be fast asleep at 1 a.m. and I'd get the call, you know, mom, dad, I'm scared. So you run upstairs, you figure out what's going on. They're crying, they're upset. There's a monster under the bed. Okay, well, look. You know there's no such thing as monsters. I know there's no such thing as monsters. My 6-year-old doesn't know that, right? And we need to almost treat this the same way. And you can do this 2 ways. You can run up there and kick the door open and say, are you dumb? There's no such thing as a monster. Or you can sit down beside him. You can put your arms around him. You can give him a big hug. You can explain why your house is safe. You can maybe turn the light on. You can look under the bed. You can look in the closet yourself. You can give them a toy flashlight that they can sleep with, right? Whatever the issue is. This isn't rocket science. We need to stop talking to people who have emotional concerns using data points, using facts. It's not a factual argument. When we have an emotional argument that we answer with facts, that comes off as incredibly cold and incredibly insensitive. And frankly, look, it doesn't matter if it's insensitive if it worked, but it just doesn't work. You're not going to drive your numbers up. You're not going to get people to actually come and choose to trust you if you're arguing emotions versus fact. You need to argue the emotional component.
I want to give the example there and she listened to your previous webinars and you were in touch with her on a case study on Gili Air. It's Flowers and Fire with Emily. Emily owns a little yoga center. Nothing was damaged in her property, but of course she had to handle scared guests. And because she had been trained, immediately she was on top of how to communicate. And basically what happened is she started communicating what was the situation. And she was very factual and realistic, but quickly people would turn to her to get information on the situation. On top of that, she took the lead on beef work. You know, she was on top of it, and she was raising, I think, a few 100 million rupiahs every week to go to Lombok and support the local population. And she was in the truck and going around and doing her best. And at the same time, reestablishing her business. As a consequence, her business now is leading the way and she's full every day. Her business is thriving. So, and she has no problem doing good and doing well at the same time. And that has no problem. Whereas most people, when they reach out to me, or sometimes they see me doing all those talks, and their reaction says, "Hey, Alex, we shouldn't talk about the earthquake. We shouldn't talk about the volcano, because you're spreading fear. You're getting people to even talk more about it. And it's better that now it's over. It's behind us. Nothing is happening." And but the truth is, it doesn't work. It doesn't go away. It's still in the mind of the people. They hear it from us. And their way they are spreading is based on fear, as we all know. But the fact that you had someone in Gili Air owning the narrative, she was sharing what was going on. And then we, through our website, were listing where to donate and what were the actions, and sharing real-time information on what was the situation. She established exactly what you shared. She established trust with her audience, with the potential customers. And it was a great opportunity for her. Everybody heard about her because people were Googling those terms. Her name was popping up, and here she is now. Just everybody's struggling with bouncing back when she's thriving. And one thing maybe you want to jump on, she never changed her rates.
Yes.
She didn't.
Well, you're getting 3 or 4 steps ahead of us here. First, I feel free, but there's 2 things going on here that I think, and I wrote the third one down. The first one is she understood that people were afraid. She understood that, and she did that and I've met Emily, and I was able to work a little bit with Emily immediately after the earthquake. And what Emily has going for her really well is that she's a very naturally empathetic personality. And she understands that intrinsically. She understood that what she was dealing here was an emotional argument. But then she also really took into rule number 3, which is be the source. I get complaints from clients every week of the year about, hey, we've got a problem, but CNN is screwing it up, or the BBC is sensationalizing it, or Al Jazeera is taking it completely out of context. It happens, trust me, been doing this for close to 20 years. It's been happening from 20 years ago. It's going to happen 20 years from now. It's a universal. The media is going to screw it up. If you are depending on third-party media sources to provide factual information to your guests and to your clients, you are doing it wrong, right? There's some really good information out there. Even though I don't even live in Bali, I belong to the Facebook page that tracks the Agung Daily Report. It's just a fantastic fact-based resource on what's going on with the volcano. But once you've established your first and your primary job is to establish yourself as an emotional connector when you need that emotions. And there's good ways of doing that. There's bad ways of doing that. We can talk about that later. But once you've done that, then and only then can you come in with the facts. Here's the data. Here's what's going on with this. Here's what's going on with that. But by no means do you want to shy away from that data. I tell clients, own the problem, own it.
I love that, because this is something that, you know, you shared some examples, but it's really true. You know, I'm whenever I had people that were reaching out saying, hey, is it okay to come to Bali? I think you were recommending, and we applied it, says, hey, you know what? I am a dad. I have 2 kids, and those are their names and those are their age. And this is a question I ask myself. I
Yeah.
wouldn't be here if I was not 100% sure that it was not safe,
Yeah.
because they still will trust me, say, okay, of course, if I tell you something about my business, you're not going to trust me. I'm trying to fill my rooms. But if I talk about the safety of my kids, of course you're going to believe me. So this is something that you're not going to doubt, the integrity of a dad protecting his kids.
It's a trust argument. It is how do I convince someone to trust me? That's the argument here. This isn't about bookings. This isn't about data. This isn't about earthquakes. It's about trust. Trust in a high risk, low risk environment. And right now, people are, like it or hate it, people are, when they think of Bali, they think earthquakes and volcanoes. Okay, you know what? You that may suck. It may not suck depending on your perspective, but I will promise you that's what they're thinking about. So own it. If you have a facility that has a great view of the volcano, sell that. If you have a facility that's got access to a port, sell that. But for heaven's sake, own the issue. I showed you Jorge and Maria Jose. You can't get away from the fact that they are literally on the slope of Cotopaxi. They celebrated that. They talked quite openly about the closest resort to the Cotopaxi volcano. It worked for them. They grew their business by 30% because they're not afraid to own the issue. Again, it's not the fact that you have a volcano. Hawaii has volcanoes. Hawaii gets millions of tourists a year because they own the fact. Yeah, absolutely. Come see our volcanoes.
What I loved, and that's something you might want to talk to, is instead of saying Bali is safe, we were saying Bali is ready. And we were communicating about the fact that, yeah, of course, an earthquake could happen. And I'm not able to tell you it's not going to happen. So I'm not going to say that. But I'm going to say that, in the event of something happening, this is what we are ready. This is how you're going to get out of the country. This is how you're going to be protected. This is what we have done to secure the housing and all the things that you are doing. And that's not the topic today, to be able to say, yeah, in the event of a catastrophe happening, we are ready. What do you think about that?
Yeah, it's the issue with anything to do with. I'm not opposed to safe. I think a year after the fact, you could probably start making that claim. I think the problem is it's disingenuous. It's hard. It's really hard to say to people, "Come to Bali, we're safe." When they hang up the phone and they go to the Google and they pull up pictures of, even though it's not your island, even though it's next door over in Lombok, of massive mudslides wiping out, entire villages. It's really hard to say it's safe when you pull up Bali and all the news reports are about a volcano that may or may not erupt.
That was Sulawesi. That massive landslide. That's also not far.
It's really tough. You're not going to win that fight. They're looking at that with their own eyes. They're looking. There's video. There's and you're saying, oh yeah, you need to come up with a way of answering those concerns, which is why I prefer we're ready. There's little subjective statements like that in the background. Yeah.
So now we're in a situation where, okay, we have earthquakes happening around Bali. Yeah. It's not happening in Bali. It's happening on neighboring islands, but we are in the ring of fire. So for now, tourism is booming. Actually, we have crazy numbers in terms of arrival, but we know how fragile it is because a proof of the volcano, airport is closed for 12 hours. And it makes international news, and we're in trouble again. So what can we do at this stage?
And I think you started to touch on it, and I wanted to touch on it, but I didn't want to focus on it. When the rule number 4 there, which is, let's talk about pricing. And I think what a lot of people do, and it's an easy trap to fall into, they think, well, I really need to get my numbers up. What's the easiest way to do that? Well, we'll offer a sale. For the next month, we'll knock our prices back by 50% and at least get some cash in the door or whatever. And you can't, that's a bad combination. It's the death spiral of pricing. There are all sorts of studies. And in fact, let me just say right here and now, I have a couple of those studies. I have a couple of those different news reports. I put them just in a really brief 3-page Word document. Alex has a copy. I have a copy. If you want a copy of some of the different reports along with these 5 different rules, go ahead and in the comments on the webinar or on Facebook, just go ahead and punch in your email address or send in a note or a private message, and we'll make sure that you get that somehow. But you can't discount your pricing. The problem with discounts is that, frankly, they're toxic. No one, wants to buy from the business that's going out of business, right? There was actually a study in Travel and Weekly magazine that said for every 10% reduction in pricing, it takes 5 years to get your revenue back. That's not something you want to do with. I don't care if you take a 3-month hit in revenue, the minute you start reducing your pricing, you change your clientele, because now you're starting to go from people who are expecting a world-class Bali experience to, hey, I just want a cheap beach and to go have a good time. And frankly, give those people to Bali, give those to Thailand.
It doesn't work. Your people are afraid, and you're telling them, I'm scared. I give you a discount. Well, I'm scared.
And now you're attracting a different type of audience. And again, they're like, well, I can go to Bali, or screw it, I can go get drunk and lay on a beach outside Phuket, and it's probably even cheaper. I mean, don't try to compete.
But Jeff, we've got about 10 more minutes. Can we go towards like practical tips? Like, what should we do now? We own a business. We're operating here. What can we do? How can we get prepared?
Well, at the end of the day, that really is what it is. I mean, be prosperous, but get the help. Don't try to do this on your own. That's what organizations like Be Greener are for. I mean, don't try to cowboy this, right? Don't go solo. I'm standing in front of my own blackboard, but don't try to do this on your own. There is help out there. Right?
One thing that was interesting is to, when you said be the source, is have some kind of either information on your website, on your social media, or start to be on top of it. And this is the topic in the conversation. Just be part of the conversation. And if you have access to the source, just be the source. Because for most people, they won't have access, and they won't spend the time looking around for many information. So, put a page on your website or a link to a website that is listing good information, and keep doing that. What do you think about that?
I think the more the better. I mean, right now, I mean, we're kind of focusing on volcanoes, and I don't think Bali's problem are volcanoes. But the problem that we have is that if we're thinking about volcanoes and you go and you punch up, let me just do this again, right? People get pictures like this showing up in their news reports, right? And they have no idea what's really going on. One of the things that I had Maria Jose and Jorge do, for example, they stuck a webcam on their roof, pointed it at the volcano, and it wasn't expensive. It wasn't. It didn't cost them a lot of money. It was a Logitech outdoor webcam. They pointed out the window. Hey, look, volcano. Right today, it's kind of cloudy. Whatever, but it's real.
People don't just book your place, they book your destination. So you
Absolutely.
are an ambassador of your destination. So regardless of the travel, and you, even if you do it also because people want, what's the weather in Bali today? You know, or should I come to, but is it raining all the time? So if you have a webcam showing your landscape or showing a nice feature around your place, people will love that. You're an ambassador of your destination. So show it. So you're achieving safety, and by, you know, communicating the reality of the situation, but you're also communicating what it is that people are buying into. So the idea of the live web, absolutely brilliant. I really encourage every business to do that. It's so easy, as you said, it's cheap, and it's really creating trust, because this is the reality of right now. What is the situation? It's the same principle as the I Am in Bali Now campaign. I love this. The idea is, would be fantastic to get Jeff over and have him come and spend a full day training on what kind of email can I have to be prepared, what kind of, so you have all your marketing ready before anything happens. So the idea would be to try to see if we can get 10 people interested to join and cover Jeff cost. So we calculated between the flights, and would be around $300 per person for a full day training on crisis communication. And we would need 10 people to cover that. So if we get 10 people, and in order to motivate, we will open it to more people, but the other people will have to pay $500. So it's $300 for the first 10 who sign up. That will cover the cost, and then for the other people who want to join would be $500. And the idea would be to talk about your business. And that's the interesting part. And now we've talked really about things in theory, but it's really in the workshop, we really talked about it. Would be interesting to all the examples being about the businesses who are joining. So we talk about your business, what's going on there. So you actually live with the real toolbox, so that next time you need to communicate, you've got it all. And as we've seen today, it is about crisis communication, but it's actually just about communication and how you communicate better, because all these things we talked about are true regardless of the situation. You know, if you establish trust, then people will book with you. So that's the whole idea. So you can, if you are a great ambassador of your destination and you communicate that effectively, brand and will want to book direct. So that's you know, yes, we're talking about the eventuality of an earthquake or an eruption of a gong, but to me, it really applies to any situation. Jeff, any?
Well, let me can I just be brutally transparent and straight up and honest with you and your people here, and so this is what I do for a living. I'm not going to make any shyness or secrets of it, and quite frankly, it's an attractive living. I mentioned how I was running around and doing all of these workshops in Australia this year, in China, in Sweden, in Germany, in the UK. I get to travel all over the world. For a workshop like this, I normally charge $10,000. And I make good money on doing that, but I do it. And I mean, it sounds arrogant. I'm not trying to be arrogant. I can charge that because I get the results. It works. I know it works. I have a proven recipe to get an organization past a bad situation and have them fall up, have them be higher than they were before. And that's great for me, but frankly, the problem is that's information, and there are tools, and there are tricks, and there are some really simple but fundamental things that we can do right here and now in Bali that we need to get out at the local level. We need to get the individual hotel owner, the resort, the destinations, the restaurant operators. We need them to have that information.
Yeah.
And so what we're basically trying to do, look, I'm a Canadian. Being in Canada in the middle of February sucks, right? If we can come up with a way to cover some of my expenses to come on out and do this, I am prepared to donate my time in order to make that happen, because I believe in what you guys are doing. I think what you're doing, especially with Be Greener, is important. and it hurts not to see it done well. The tourism industry is so critically important to an economy.
So for me, Jeff, it's really human nature not to be prepared. Look at what's going on with global warming. We can get all the signs we want. We're still going to the wall, and it's just human nature. So really, if we can get a message today is, hey guys, it doesn't have to be like that. We don't, even though if you feel, hey, we don't have a problem right now, it's just smart to just anticipate things that could happen and learn along the way. And you're right. I think the more the message is spread, the bigger the impact. And also, you know what? And that's really also something that came out of last year's situation with Agum. It's an opportunity to reclaim the destination. It's an opportunity to attract the customers you want. So it's not only, hey, right now I'm doing a lot of business through booking.com. I don't know who is coming. If you establish a strong brand that is known for its integrity, known for being an ambassador of the destination and all the things we talked about, you get customers you want. The more you can define your target market, the more you can communicate to them and attract them, the better the satisfaction, the less disappointed they will be. So it's really what is at stake beyond just the crisis aspect. So really, guys, I think we're going to close soon. I will let you, Jeff, finish. But if you guys are interested, please put your email below in the comments on.
You know what? I'm looking forward to breaking this down and not just doing this on a intellectual or a theoretical level, but we're going to sit down. We're going to limit it to 30 people max, no more than 30. I don't care if you get 300 people that want in. We're only going to take 30. Right. And we're going to look at each of those businesses, and we're going to do case studies, and we're going to do examples, and we're going to break through these businesses and what they need to be doing, not theoretical businesses in Ecuador or, what's going on in Africa. No, Bali businesses, and know what to do in order to grow the business. And it's a proven formula. And I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it. We're looking at, I think you and I were talking about the 19th of February.
Right. Yeah. Sounds good. No, and then just to finish, thank you, Jeff, so much for taking your time today. I hope you guys found that very interesting. I hope, guys, you enjoyed it. You got something out of it. Please give us some feedback and comments below. That would be very interesting. And yeah, share it if you liked it, so we get more people and we can make that happen. 19th February. If you can get interested to join, I'll be creating an event, so all the information is there. All right, guys. Thank you so much. Thank you, Jeff. Have a great day.
Have a great day, everybody.